Documentation and testing. When you write functions and methods, you should document them to indicate the conditions under which they function. Documentation has important uses: to identify appropriate values for testing, to make your code easier for yourself and others to read and understand, to serve as the basis for published documentation of an API, and to capture your thought process as you code. You'll use comments to document your code in Swift. If you use the special comment format ///, you'll get a bonus. Swift will automatically create and format documentation that you can access by option clicking the item, just as you do for internal types. Try it with the piggy bank type and its methods below. So exercise, the /// note lines are currently empty. Add information to each line that indicates its limitations. So this represents a piggy bank that holds only pennies. So if I option click piggy bank, I see class piggy bank, and then summary represents a piggy bank that holds only pennies. So we have note So I'm noting piggy banks can hold a maximum value of 255 pennies. Negative balances are not permitted. So when I option click on piggy bank again, I see note, piggy banks can hold a maximum of 255 pennies. I believe you need this space here, otherwise it will not grab that note. So if you're getting an error, make sure you have a space between this colon and where you start typing. All right, so then we have returns balance of the bank. This deposits pennies into the bank. So parameter pennies is the number of pennies to deposit. And we have another note, and again, space. That. So we can't exceed 255 pennies in our final balance. And then withdraws pennies from the bank, parameter pennies, and then we're going to add a final note here. So the amount withdrawn must not be greater than the current balance. These are all things we tested on our previous screens. Testing. When you test a function, you should choose a range of values, including some that extend beyond the limits that that function expects. What are the limits of the deposit and withdraw methods? Make some test cases below by creating instances of piggy bank and calling the two methods with values that should produce valid results, as well as some tests that should cause it to crash. Verify valid results by comparing the method call to the expected output as demonstrated. You'll have to comment out the tests that crash your code in order to have them alongside other tests. So we have test illegal deposit amount. Let's run our code as is. Notice this comment is on the same line. This should be true. So this is true. So we're going to add some more test cases. So this is going to be, let's test illegal. So bank 1, withdraw pennies 50. And then check the balance. And run that. 50. All right. Let's we're withdrawing an illegal amount, so this should give us a test, an error. This test should give us an error. So when I run this, this causes a crash, so I'm going to comment that out. And these are all tests you should have in your code. So we're going to test an overflow. So let's say and then bank 2, deposit. And let's deposit 300 pennies, which should cause an overflow. Yep. And then let's test another overflow. So let's deposit 200 pennies. Check our balance. Bank 3, deposit 100 more pennies, which would give us 300 pennies, which would theoretically cause an overflow. It's still thinking about that. So once that overflow error comes in, which is what I expect, I'm going to comment this out and then move on to next, making change. So we're not going to wait around for that. I'm just going to go ahead and comment that out because I know it's going to overflow. It's just taking its time. So moving on to making change.